Ready?
I'm ready for this.
Let's hit it.
My chair's already creaking here.
Your chair is so cheap.
Dude, this is so loud in my ears.
There you go. Turn it down. Is that better?
I received that. No, you have my thing so loud. Oh my
Because we're trying to hear the air
good
conditioning.
Lord. I don't need to just, God.
Why do I feel like we always start fighting? We start and we finish fighting.
Lord. All right. I want to talk about something. This is really funny to me.
Whoa. Can you ease up?
I'm not going to ease right. I'm going to jump right in.
Just, okay.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? This is the Prolific Podcast, and we're really excited to have you guys here today. As always, my partner is hitting his microphone like it's a Congo Kong. Congo Kong? Bongo?
What is that? A Congo Kong?
A Congo Kong. I meant to say a bongo and a Kong.
That's the homeschool version of a bongo.
Homeschooled. Homeschooled.
Oh,
All right.
It's going to be like that. Okay. It's going to be that kind of episode. Let's do this.
I'm just messing with you.
Literally.
I'm literally. All right.
Nobody's going to get that. Anyway, keep
no
going.
one. All right. So I was going through, this happens just about on the daily for me.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, Facebook will pop up like memories for me. And some you're like, oh, no, I'm going to delete that. I don't want anyone going back and seeing that post ever again. And you'll delete it, right?
That's a good question. Are you a Facebook cleanser? Are you one of those?
So I was.
Okay.
I used to be fluffy back in the day. I gained a lot of weight one day.
You told me about this.
One
Dude,
day.
I am trying to find these pictures.
You'll never find them. No, they're probably out there somewhere.
Is that a challenge? Because I will go
no,
look
don't
for
do this. It's gonna be like, what is this? It'll be like Parks and Rec. Find the dirt on me, and then we both just hate each other and never want to deal with each other ever
Listen,
again.
I had a lazy eye, so you could
I'll find that one.
But I always lead with that.
Yeah.
so you can't find it. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. I had a lazy eye.
Just self-belittlement instantly.
Yeah,
Michael Scott, you just got to lead in with, I'm just such a bad
I'm
person.
such a dummy. Yeah.
No, you're not, Jim. It's just, yeah. So every once in a while,
cleanse.
I haven't cleansed in a long time in this stuff because at this point I'm like, I really don't care. But whenever I was in my high school days, I was like, I got to delete everything. And so I literally went through and deleted every image of me back then.
I just got to make a quick note on that, which is really funny about social media. Nobody prepared us for social media, by the way.
No,
we all got given this weird concept, this extension of our identity online, right?
We started out with freaking Zynga and MySpace. That's where I started out at.
Well, even before that, just I am and all that, right?
Well, I wouldn't even call that social media though.
Yeah,
that wasn't that was instant messaging.
Yeah. I guess it was just messaging. But it's just interesting that we get these extensions of our identity, and I see you every day, right? We see each other at the office, but I can rarely point at something you were 10 years ago because I don't see it anymore in person, right? But now with social media, we have this log
of flashback memories.
So just dark what is it? A blackmail.
Yeah,
content,
you got blackmail, but you also have I told a past student of mine this past week you also if you can write down the goodness of God. Right, you're in a week or 2 weeks from now, you're gonna forget.
Right.
You may have a moment of doubt, you may have a moment of weakness, you may have a moment of just God, are you really gonna provide again? And then if you I have a black book of God's goodness, and I'm I'll just grab it and be gotta remind my soul again, and be oh yeah, that's right, he did that. Oh yeah, he provided there. Oh yeah,
that's
he
awesome.
healed there, and but it doesn't mean I don't have moments of it, but you have these memories to remind you, and so it made me think about that.
Social media has really become kind of like a journal.
Yeah,
and it's funny what I was going to say.
Not
point
a good
out that's
kind of
funny
journal.
Is that
Sometimes not a good journal.
Not a good journal. Sometimes you shouldn't write on social media.
Let me just. I'm gonna pause out for a minute for a second.
Wait. Let me finish that thought and then pause. Okay. What I was gonna say is that it's really interesting how social media is so telling of where you are in your life that if you see somebody cleansing their social media, you can usually tell what's happened recently. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
So at some point during high school or actually go back to the MySpace days. If you got in a fight with that friend or with that girlfriend.
Top 3, bro.
The favorites would switch. Tom would go to the top.
And you'd like reach out to your other, like the top 3 on that friends. You'd be like, bro, you got bumped. What happened?
Bro, did you see that
okay?
Joey brought you down to number 3, dude?
Bro, he moved Aaron to number 2.
and that is when social media became about status.
Absolutely.
I really believe the introduction of like the whole friend list thing. I'm so glad they don't do it anymore because it was a lot of drama. I mean, people say social media is really bad. It could be a lot worse.
Oh yeah, it still is
imagine
drama.
like, you have like, I don't know.
Your
Anyway,
top followers, that's a thing. They literally get badges and things like that on social
but
media.
Different. That's like based on commenting and all that. But anyway, I just think it's really interesting. I'm not a Facebook cleanser. I've been of the belief that, I just live with my mistakes, and just with my past decisions, right? So like if you see through my Facebook, there are pictures there of people that I dated before. Like it's like all out there, like, yep, that was my life. I'm not going to hide it.
Yeah. Yeah, that social media cleanser life. I definitely went through it in high school. 100% went through it in high school.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When were you the fluffiest?
When I was, I think I was 14. I think it was my freshman year. My freshman year, so I played a lot of sports in middle school, a lot of sports. And so I was playing football, I was playing soccer, I was playing basketball, like almost on the daily. And then we like kind of transitioned from where I was playing sports for almost a full school year. And I really didn't play anything for like a year because it was just like we were kind of in this limbo of where we were at, like as a family within school and things like that. But I kept eating like I was playing. And dude, I was like the heaviest. I think I was still heavier then than I am now. Like which is crazy for me. Like looking back at 14 and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then my boy Aaron pulled me back into sports at Ruskin and I'm so thankful for the coaches there because of them pushing and just like running through us. Like I didn't have a basketball coach. I had a baseball coach that coached basketball and all we did was run and ladders and suicides. And like the joke behind him and the entire team is we might lose, but we won't be tired losing. And no joke, we would play a whole game and all of us would be like, let's keep going. I'm not even tired at all, And so I lost a lot of weight that year, my freshman year, and then just jumped right back into sports. Like I was always, captain. I was playing sports a lot, and then
when did you go back and cleanse your?
I think it might have been that next year.
Like that.
I actually think it was sophomore year that it was like a realization.
Yeah.
I like saw a photo of myself, and I was like, whoa. Wow. I had no idea.
That's a version of me I never want to remember.
Yeah, I never want to remember that, and I'm gonna delete that off the face of the earth. And back then, I think it was like Facebook and like just the beginning of the beginning of Facebook, but MySpace was on there.
It must be nice to have past pictures of you that had more weight because I feel like all the versions of me in the past were skinnier.
Oh my gosh! You're like, I don't want it. I'm trying to go back there.
To keep it.
Yeah. But again, going back to memory aspect, I was literally scrolling through, and it just made me think because Facebook does memories. Back in the day, it used to be like time hop and like things like that, but now Facebook just built it into it, and it's like from 2010 September the 13th. Oh, bad day already. Woo. I'm like, all right, how old was I? I was 16 years old, and I'm over here like
totally emo,
bad day.
Emo Joey.
So stupid. And then the following year, 17 years old, like 17 years old. Now I'm quoting the word. Your eyes are well. This isn't from the word, but this is actually just really challenging. Yeah. Your eyes are saying more than the words you speak. Like my dad used to say, like your eye, like pay attention because your eyes are telling me if you're focused or not, right? And there's so much to that. Your eyes are the window to your soul and like all that. And I'm like, man, that's really good. And then the same day, the same year, Peter 3, which is really funny because we just read Peter last week. Finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be passionate and humble, right? And then the same day, bro, I don't know if I was just like bored out of my mind, but literally the same day, then I post, I'm a fool with dreams. I'm like, God have mercy.
So I just have to make a note here.
God have mercy.
One of the things that I always make fun of Joy about, okay, let's be honest. Like the younger version of us, rarely people are proud about, right? So we just like, there's all kinds of like posts that I find on my, that I post. I'm like, what was I thinking?
Who am I?
Yeah, I thought I was so cool, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, I just see like young kids.
Time.
You're like,
Yeah.
you know. So what's really funny about that is I always have this joke with Joey that he had like the deepest emo stage. I never met him, but like all the music that he listens to, that he like was of the age was like super emo and like pity party, like wallowing in like despair. But that was a season, you know. And I think we need to do an episode about
babies,
that,
bro. The '90s baby. We just grew up with this music that was so emotional. Like music was getting real. Again, social media was coming into stuff. Music was coming into a whole new age. Like there was so much stuff that's happened. Our
you know
our
what
life.
I just realized what you just said?
What did you just say?
I think the 90s is when seeking for attention became like a thing. Like
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't born any other time, so I can't say that.
And the reason why I say that, well, maybe not, because I mean, people seek for attention different ways. But I just feel like my life has been rough. I'm having a hard time. You know, I need what do they call it? Like the thirst traps, all that stuff.
Oh, like, clickbait, like things like
really,
that. Yeah,
really 90s. You know, like all of our music. Like I joke a lot with you that like all of our music's like, I'm not understood. Like, you know, like I am.
Tear my heart open.
Yeah, what's up? I feel those lyrics.
Come on, bro. I do. Like, just hit me any '90s feel, and suddenly my hair gets a.
It just grows automatically. Your eyeliner's showing up.
Eyeliner. I would never.
That was the emo days.
No, my Vans would pop on. All right. My DCs, bro. Back in the day. Man. But it's just really funny to think of like the memories of who we were and where we were with God. Some of us weren't following the Lord. Some of us were following God. And so it's really interesting, like me looking back on, you know, a Fool with Dreams. You know, I was 17 years old.
That's still you, though.
And if I looked back and if I could talk to myself, that's 12 years ago, be like, hey, I just want to let you know, there's some dreams that actually fulfilled and they still didn't fulfill you. Hey, there's some things that you like, hey man, you're married. You have a daughter. Like your greatest two dreams are done.
You're still a fool.
But you're still a fool and you still have dreams.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like don't get so caught up in the I'm not there yet. Don't get caught up in the I haven't reached that goal yet. And like I would just remind myself some of the things, like looking back on the memories. And then there's some other things that have impacted me to this day. It's actually from Martin Luther King. It's a post from 2015. It says, I have held many things in my hands and have lost them all. But whatever I have placed in God's hand, that I still possess. And like there's things that just like from generation to generation, it like speaks volumes of just the word or challenge, or like your soul just like, oh, like you just feel the weightiness of it, you know?
I think it's really profound that you have had so many years. You know, we discuss this a lot. I think it's easy for people that didn't grow up in a Christian home to feel like they're behind. You know, I rarely feel like that. I don't really feel like that because I really believe that the Lord can fast track a person, you know, based on their devotion. You know,
absolutely.
just like loving Him. But it's really interesting to think about how you have had so much time to marinate on such profound truths. Like when I was 16, I was not looking at stuff like that. You know, when I was 16, I was looking at really melancholic music. You know, I had another kind of depth, so to speak, right? But it was not like, you know, whatever I put. That's a profound statement, you know, to marinate in for a long time. Like that's a huge blessing, bro. But I was gonna ask you, what is a part of young Joey? Like whenever you see those posts, I want us both to share because I think that's important.
I wish I could look back and like the other days. I can't.
So what part of young Joey do you think has changed for the better? Like maybe like one of the most important parts of young Joey that has like matured and that, like, you know, before that you look at then and you're like, ugh, right? But now you look and you're like, okay, we're in a better place now, you know?
And it sounds really funny because many people that probably listen to the podcast, and even you would probably laugh at what I'm going to say. But whenever you know yourself, like you understand where you were and where you've grown.
Sure.
And so I think one place is, and again, you're going to laugh at this, is I know you're going to. I know you're going to. You ready for this? Everyone on the podcast. Everyone on the podcast. No, that's a tweet. You got to. Nope. No, that won't work.
I'm going to use that one.
No, that won't work. That won't work. Do the other one. Do the blue one. There you go. There you go. Is actually the moments to shut up, like genuinely shut up. Yeah, and he's gonna laugh at that. But there's whenever I was in high school and middle school, I didn't know, I didn't understand. Like I felt like I always always needed to be heard, and yet I would always quote and always say to myself, "I got 2 years, one mouth." 2 years, one mouth, and I've got to be slow to speak and quick to listen. Like
did your parents tell you that?
Speak. Oh yeah,
2 years, one mouth.
No, I don't think so.
No,
yeah, it's just something that I because it just again, I don't think God does something on purpose. like everything is intentional. He does, and so there's just some of those little things where I know where I can be in a situation, or I can see it, or I can be living in it, and I feel like I genuinely could be completely okay with being silent. And even like the places, I think we've talked about it on a podcast before, the places back then, I always had a fear of being misunderstood. Like it was like bleeding out of me. Well, now I've come to the realization that no, there's gonna be moments people just misunderstand me. Now it still hurts and I'm still walking through it.
You don't have to over explain yourself.
Yeah. Like when before I would way over explain myself. And sometimes I still have those weak days, where I feel like I have to, or I have to guard it, or I have to protect it, or something like that. But I think number one, actually being better at listening. Number two, let me skip to number three. And in number three, understanding that my addictive personality can be so focused on Jesus. And that's why he gave me it. And that my hunger that I have to just learn, or just engulf into something, that it's actually a gift. Because back then I felt like it was a curse, because back then I was so addicted to pornography. Back then I was so addicted to deceit. Back then I was so addicted to cheating through school. Like there was these things that I was literally addicted to. I'd call it straight what it is. I was addicted to that stuff. And so I always felt like that's going to be a burden for the rest of my life, that I have an addictive personality. So I never wanted to go near anything regarding alcohol, like smoking, like anything, like any level. I'm like, I need to stay so far away, which I still stay far away from those things. But like where I was so fearful of the personality trait that when I get into something, it consumes me. And so I saw it as wicked, because the only thing that had me consumed was pornography, was cheating, was lying to my parents to get through school. Like these things, like the things that I was like, so the wicked and wretched parts of me in the mirror that only I saw. So now being 29 years old and being able to look back and be like, whew, little would you know what God would do if you would just cling to him. If you just gave up and allowed him to give you a new life. Like he's got you. But I felt like everything that I went through there and everything that I've gone through up to this point, like God's done miraculous things, and has used everything for his good, And so I just feel like those memories and those things are really, 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 really powerful. But how about you? What do you think is some things, if you could look back on, what would you say?
Oh man, there's so much. I say, so lying was definitely one of them. And I think it had a lot to do with just insecurity and just lack of self-worth, that you lie.
Yeah.
I think there are people that master the art of lying because they are so insecure about the person they are that they have to make up a new version of themselves for them to feel okay with and for other people to feel okay with,
Like you're so scared of who you've actually decided to become.
You're not enough.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of them. Another one this is a big one, man. I was actually thinking about this 2-3 days ago. I think every young man, not every young man, I think there are a lot of young men who never grow up to be older men and mature into the kind of man that doesn't need women's attention. And by women, I mean plurally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And plural, multiple women. And so I remember, and my wife would tell you this, that even when she met me, this is something about me that she didn't like, was that she noticed that I was very, I would receive the attention of multiple women, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I think I would have like very developed, I don't want to call it emotional relationships, but it like the boundaries were just all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So I see young me, and I see a young man who was very insecure, very hungry for the attention of multiple women to validate himself, really leading back to insecurity. And I actually had one time a girl confront me about it. And put me on my toes, bro. I'm actually forever really grateful for what she came to say to me that day. She said it this way. It's actually happened at church, because this didn't fall off of me right when I got saved.
Right.
It's some of the stuff clings to you, and you need to ask the Holy Spirit for a lot of self-awareness. But she came to me and she said something like this. She like took me aside. It's the first time I had experienced somebody like take me aside and like have like a conversation with me, like the Christian way. I was like,
"Come here, boy.
What's happening? This is way too mature." Anyway, she takes me to the side and she's like, "Hey, I just feel like you have a problem." And she was like, she's very bold. And she was like, "I just feel like you have this like spiritual, emotional tie that you latch on people, and it's like really, really unhealthy and really toxic. And you need to just like ask the Holy Spirit to give you security and just like, bro." She just like stripped me with a word, my guy. And I'm really grateful today, because it first of all, it made me aware of it, because if she wouldn't have pointed it out, I wouldn't even have verbiage for it. Like,
and even
like
if a man actually would have probably pointed that out, you probably wouldn't have received it in the same way.
You know what? You're probably right, because as a woman, I could tell it's different when you get confronted by a woman, bro. That's why I believe marriage grows you up so much.
Amen.
Because when somebody doesn't have the ability to beat you up physically, but with the truth, they can beat you up, and you go, "Oh, wait a minute."
Well, and slice you out of love. Like that was actually the word coming down to the bone and marrow out of love.
Angry. You know what? I think she was angry enough that like she might have been really
she
trying to say
love. She could have been really mad or not. You never know.
It didn't even matter, because it was just the truth, So I'm really grateful. I look back and I'm really grateful, because I see a young man that was very, very hungry for that affirmation, and the Lord did a work, through time to help that. Another thing that I think about, since you shared 3, I'll share the third one. I actually really scorned marriage when I was younger. When I was in high school, I just always thought marriage was such a joke. And the reason why is because I heard a lot of that verbiage in Colombia. There's a lot of jokes and a lot of just things to kind of just make marriage seem like such a drag, like and so I automatically I'm much more impressionable than I realized. And so as a young man, I heard older men talk about their spouses in the wrong way, talk about marriage in a mocking way. And I picked up that language because I thought it was the thing to do as a man, and it was actually my wife that pointed this out to me. Eventually, was it my wife? No, it wasn't my wife. Yes. No, when I first met Tara, I used to say these things to her.
Before you were a girlfriend, cool. Before you were engaged.
Like I would be like, like whatever, and so
crazy.
I'm really grateful, man, that the Lord redeemed that part of my life and showed me through good example and through just life experiences how beautiful marriage and how awesome wives are. Like,
they're the best.
Yeah,
they're the best. Yeah, but really, man, like to land it today, like I just really felt like the aspect of memory. Obviously you can get really, really deep and go really, really far. And maybe it's another episode, but I felt like today, like Facebook just makes me laugh. Like sometimes when you see versions of your younger self, you're like, whoa. But then it also gives you flashback of the things that you were actually like struggling with too, or what you were walking through then.
Sure.
And so like for me, when I look back on, 2012 or 2011 or 2010, I'm like, I literally can put myself, like 2010 is when I lost one of my best friends. And I can, 3 months prior to that. And so like I can like rewind and like remember where I was, and what's crazy is the more that I think about the memory of that aspect is I feel like there's moments, and this is why I believe the word particularly in the old covenant with the Lord, they would make places of remembrance. They'd make towers, they make pillars of remembrance. And then whenever they'd be passing through that city or passing that mountain again, they'd be like, oh yeah, that is the pillar. That is the moment. That is the altar of Bethel. That is the moment, the place I met God. That is the place that God delivered me there. And they would build these places. And I feel like at times, if we're not careful, we're gonna speed through life and we're gonna have all these encounters with God, like over and over and over and over again. But we're going to have next year, you're going to forget some of the encounters. Next month, you're going to forget some of the encounters. You're going to forget the moments that God like actually spoke to you. You're going to forget the moment that God prophetically spoke from a pastor. You're going to forget the moment that you spoke words of knowledge to someone. And you're like, where did that come from? You're going to forget like these moments. If we're not careful, like Facebook just reminds me, which is funny, but Facebook reminds me of the stories that like I've had in my life that sometimes are hilarious. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that or stuff like that. But I want to challenge, I want to encourage us as men, as women, as married couples, as engaged people, as single people, wherever you are, like if there's any way that you can do something, that you can keep track of the goodness of God in your life, like the moments that he has done something for you, the moments that even before an answer has happened, but you're like, that's interesting. That was a door. That's weird. Okay, God. And you just log it. Like, and then especially whenever he does something, when he swings a door open, when there's a miracle, when there's a healing, like my life, like in the past 10 years, the amount of miracles that I've seen in human hearts is crazy. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that my niece is one of 3 that have survived. Oh, actually, she is the only one that this doctor has ever seen in his entire career of 25 to 30 years that has ever survived outside the womb, ever. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Oh,
we should have a testimony episode, bro.
Yeah,
because I agree with you. I think that one of the reasons why the church lives, the church can live hopeless, is because there isn't enough testifying in the church, and. One thing what has been really encouraging to me as I read the scriptures was that the Ark of the Testimony, the Ark of the Covenant was also called the Ark of the Testimony, right? And so the Israelite people, if you guys are not familiar with this, the Israelite people would walk around holding this structure that they had built, that the Lord had led them to build. And there are a bunch of different specifications, but one of the main things that is important about them is that it was kind of like a box, and it would hold items that were important to the story of the Israelite people walking with Jesus, or walking with Yahweh at the time. And what's really profound about that is that I believe the writings as well of this testimony of God with his people will be in that box. And so that's why it was called the Ark of the Testimony. And I just felt the Lord tell me as I was studying that it's so important that we have an ark of a testimony that we carry with ourselves. It's essentially what you're saying, right? Yeah. It's like there are, like, for example, some of you guys don't know this, but I don't think you even know this, but I have this like rock in my book in my bag.
Yeah. You've told me many
that
times.
That is from like something that somebody, and it's not something I hold or look at very often, but it's just something that I go back to, and I'm like, God did something there.
Right. Right. I want to read this, and this is where we're landing.
Close it.
Right here. This is Revelation 12, verse 10 through 11. It says, "And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, 'Now the salvation and the power of the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brothers has been thrown down, who accuses them day and night before our God. And they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, for they loved not their lives even unto death.'" We conquer the entire enemy by the word of our testimony. We love you guys.